Welcome back to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Sam Ghanem to the show. Welcome to the Den.
Thank you so much for having me. Your video is very, very Survivor-esque. I love it.
Yeah, it's been there for a while. I'm looking to change it, but they do a good job. I use Canva. Always happy to give props to Canva, which is a great tool if you're not using it.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who you are, give us a quick intro and then let's get to it.
My name is Sam Ghanem. I'm the CEO and creative lead of SGINK. We're a Boca Raton-based printing and branding company. I've been in printing in this space, specifically in this neighborhood, actually, for 21 years. And I opened up in 2018.
Great. We met through the Red Meat Lovers Club, which is on my apron here, and also Boca Raton Championship Wrestling with Matt and Neil and the great things that they're doing. Tell us more about how you got into the printing world, which is so much fun.
It is fun. Actually, I kind of fell into it. I was pre-med really and needed to work and kind of made a quick shift after a weird layoff in a marketing company when I was 19. And funny enough, I had 19 job interviews. I got 9 offers and I took the highest paying one. And that's when I was 19, and quickly was mentored by the owner at the time, a second generation family owned business, about $10 million or so, 49 employees, 16, 17 presses, multiple modalities. And he really took me under his wing. Oddly enough, my dad has a manufacturing background. And I think that my innate curiosity and creativity just kind of fit. And I became VP of his company at 25 years old. And then I went on to become the executive VP at 33. And then I kind of it was time to fly on my own. So
what was the determining factor to wanting to go on your own? Because it's tricky to go on your own, but there are, that type of industry like printing, if you can learn for as long as you were learning how to do it and then find the right people to help you do it, depending on what you're offering and the equipment that you want to have, it's not, I think it's something that everyone should consider.
I mean, shy of being a martyr, honestly, the determining factor was that in no way, shape, or form was I growing stale. I'm still very young and vibrant and hungry. I'm a huge networker. I'm a great connector, and I'm the kind of got a gal in my network. And my relationships are everything, and I'm so proud of them. I felt I couldn't work at my capacity or work the relationships to their capacity under essentially a ceiling. I was combating a company that was wanting to retire out and just kind of fold in, voluntarily, if let's say in the next 10 years. And I just felt it would be such a shame to take my skill set, these relationships, and my absolute love for the end result. A client comes to me and has just an idea. They have nothing to go off of. They don't even have a blueprint. Or a guy that comes to me with a swatch or a 3D model and we replicate it. I just wanted to keep my network diverse. I wanted to stay aggressive and hungry. And I just feel strongly about if you're not evolving, you die. So it kind of was time. If I admit it, honestly, it was actually a very emotional decision because I was just really under, again, a ceiling. There was no creativity. It was very, very just, 19 years of running a company, but someone else's company. So it's kind of being run according to their desires. You're always combating limiting beliefs in some way because you're given limitations. Whereas I can now say to a client, you're a great fit. And what about this? Or maybe you're not a fit and I could find a home for them. And it's through relationships like yours that we can collaborate and go, hey, where can we maximize a given space rather than, me being an employee, despite the accolades, the titles, and all the great benefits, it was somewhat limiting.
Yeah, I think one of the huge mistakes that companies make is not giving the power to their employees to make decisions. Like if you have to keep going up the ladder, that's not a very good experience for the people that you're dealing with, and it also wastes a lot of time. And at certain levels, you think to yourself, well, I'm trusting this person to be the VP or XYZ, but they can't do this or that, even when it comes to budget decisions or financial decisions. It's I think that's truly a big mistake for a lot of different companies, and that probably gets people to either leave the company or maybe try and start on their own, where they figure, look, I can make all the decisions I want and do. Now that don't, as you know, it's not all sunshine and puppy dogs. You got to
Far
make
from
tough
it.
decisions. You got to, you miss on some of them, and that it, it hurts you. Whereas if you miss or don't get to do, and when you're working for someone, it's a different story.
Right. Right. I'm very proud that I decided to do this. It's been far from easy, but I'm reminded on the daily how resilient I am. And it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. Did I lose you?
All right. I do not know what happened there, but
I don't know what happened there. That's
the
great.
wonderful world of StreamYard.
That's
Um,
okay.
When you decided to go on your own, you've been working for a print shop. What did you offer? Were you just doing printing services?
Well, so oddly, when I was still employed, and again, I'm very proud of the relationships I've built, and I still have a relationship with them. Nothing was ever on bad terms. I was a model for a couple different liquor companies when I was in college, and learned how much food and beverage spends on printing, and how they are essentially never building from an evergreen place. Everything is new for an event, and then it's essentially garbage. And I thought, A, it's a gold mine, and two, talk about creative liberty, because every event is completely different. And I kind of slowly but surely inched my way that way. We, meaning the company I worked with, had no involvement with food and beverage, so there was no competition that way. And then when Florida became the second largest microbrewery capital, I was like, well, there's no crazy margins here, but there's a lot of exposure. And again, breweries, you're probably never going to find a more passionate person than somebody who takes their love for beer and decides to go into a very low margin industry just because of their love. And so I can attest to and thank explicitly Barrel of Monks, actually, for helping me grow into this space. And slowly but surely, it just evolved. And now essentially our offering is anything with ink. That's where our tagline comes from. So labeling, packaging, signage, banners, installations, art, living walls, you name it, absolutely anything. We also offer embroidery, and we do promo items, marketing items, a lot of creative services, collaborative services. Like, again, mentioning you, for example, we could go into a client and say, what are your needs? And then everybody can work within their niche. And the client could essentially have one point of contact versus so many different vendors dealing with personalities, wasting administrative time, cutting multiple purchase orders, just making the process excessively lengthy for no reason.
How's the industry changed for you since everything is going, they're wanting to go digital?
So the background, again, where I started was industrial screen printing, which will never ever on the planet completely go away. It's the way that road signs are made, and it's the way that they can withstand the elements. It's the way that dead front overlays in an airplane are done. It will always have its place. I think that we are combating this digital age, and my comparison might sound funny, but I always think about how history repeats itself and how we look at organic food today as this new discovery. Meanwhile, it's the proper way to eat, right? I feel like eventually history will repeat itself, and people will always want that tangible exchange. They will always want to meet a human. I don't know that digital and AI will literally supplement the human experience. And by that, I mean the one-to-one, the in-person, and an exchange of something, not tchotchkes and just things, but I more mean like the ability for me to engineer something that's representative of me and my brand. That's evergreen. That is timeless. And it's something that would keep people top of mind, like your tickets. It's a souvenir. It is forever. My God, Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, one of the wrestlers could sign it. Now it's autographed. It means something to a kid forever. That's It's a million times, it's infinite actually, in comparison to having an email ticket. Who is A, going to go to spam, and two, you're forgetting about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's the print will never go away. Paper money is not going away in our lifetime, even though there's so many different ways of exchanging money digitally. But even with digital, we bridge it with our physical stuff. So the ability
Right.
to have a digital experience within the whatever you're printing, and that could be anything. It could literally be a hat that we have, a QR code, and there's technology that we have that is also out there that is it bridges with brings you a digital experience, and it's really the future of where everything's going. So now it's how can we be creative enough and share and go outside the box to offer these types of services, or to suggest that this is something that you can be doing differently than what you're already having. I think that's the biggest mistake, is just becoming, for an organization, a company like yours and mine, taking orders. Where you can find a lot of places to print stuff if you just want someone to take an order. And don't get me wrong, we take orders. Right? You tell me, this is what I want, you design it, we'll print it. But the strength in what we do and what you do is to be able to expand on that and say, hey, did you ever think about doing this? Or maybe this is what you should be doing.
Right. Especially in our case, and this is the part that I kind of reverting back to the question as to why or how I decided to move on and just believe in myself and go and try to fly alone, um, and succeed at doing so, was the fact that I can go into a prospect, as an example, a local mall or a local restaurant who's maybe reopening, new ownership, revamping. And from the second that the client experience happens at the door, all the way back through the plaza and the exterior signage, we can cover all of it. And working with GCs, bringing in electricians, we have our installers, just being able to kind of touch on that whole experience. I always try to ask a prospect or a client to basically describe the optimal avatar or the optimal client experience so that I can sit in that seat for a minute. It helps me visualize what the end game is, and it helps me understand their desire, because we have to listen to what people want first and foremost, and two, not to suggest that we want to alter their thoughts or their desire, but our expertise comes in and we say, have you ever thought of it this way? Versus to your point, you can Google millions of options for vendors and get a tchotchke from here, a sign from there, and hire some franchise to install it. I mean, if that's the kind of transaction you want. If you want a creative brain and someone that you can trust to oversee it, essentially, in a way, a project manager, in a sense, because we've got every step figured out. We understand the interaction of processes and how, if this falls, that this is affected, and if this works, then this works. To me, when I'm entrusted in that way, and of course it's earned, it's where we can work at our total capacity, and it's the most accurate SGINK experience that I could ever offer. Certainly, because we have to survive. To your point, we do take orders. Some of it is somewhat generic. Am I in love and passionate about every single project? No, but I can, in all sincerity, say that I'm in the 90% of it. And only being almost 40 and being in a business for almost 22 years should say something.
Yeah, it's doing what I don't want to go with the cliche of like, what you love. It's not, you don't work. It's work. I love
It's work.
what I'm doing. It's work. It just happens to be more fun, entertainment, whatever, work that doesn't maybe stress you out or put you in a happy place. So it's, but that is having the passion and the enjoyment, passion of what you're doing, passion to want to help people, and the joy that you see when they're enjoying themselves. I was in Disney for 2 days. Maybe the best moment of the whole entire trip for me was we were waiting online, and there was this little girl who was there with her mom who was so excited for the Avatar ride. It just, the way she was acting, like as they said it was going to go before, I think that was the best moment for me. So just being able to enjoy other people's happiness, I think, is a big key, especially when you're when you're responsible for that, but that's an important thing. So, to see the customer happy or see the customers happy, obviously that's the goal. How do you measure success in that way?
I mean, I feel like you hit the nail on the head for me, and it is. I'm not in any way trying to be idealistic or altruistic rather, but it is the client experience. In your case, for example, there are events. You just watch the kid's expression. It could have been, voiceless, and you felt it. And it's not, again, every project, but it's so cool when you see a brewery, for example, graduating, for lack of a better term, and now they're running quadruple digits, and they've got 30 different flavors, and each design is better than the next. And you're just getting their videos and their gratitude of like, I can't thank you enough. And it's in no way like, I just made $1 million on this deal and I can retire. It's so far from it. But their genuine happiness and their appreciation, it's everything, honestly. And I wish it was every job.
Well, craft breweries is a great example.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Jim Norton who had the joke, like, he's like, what do you mean you can't judge a book by a cover? That's why they have covers. You're going to judge a book by its cover. And for me, I judge a beer by what the bottle looks like. I don't, I'll show you here. This is in true Wolff Den fashion. But I have, I think it's all about, a lot of this is about branding. And, I'll just pull two of them. I collect beer cans for things that I think are cool. And this is one that has Caddyshack.
Yeah.
I'm at the wrong Caddyshack
So
and
cool.
Happy Gilmore on the front, and this one is from the Bananas. The Savannah Bananas did their own banana beer. So I am going to choose a beer probably by what the can looks like, and it's going to draw me. Other than the taste, obviously, if it's something I don't like, but if I have three choices, I'm probably going to pick the one that has the coolest can on it. And so that's, the branding for that is important. Branding on everything is important because you might not have an opportunity to, for them to dive deeper into whatever it is you're selling, whether it's a beer, whether it's a book, whether it's a shirt, whatever it might be. You have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention, and then maybe they go further.
Right. You took the words out of my mouth. So it's psychology, right? And you have literally 3 seconds for a one-shot impression. So you're not going to just throw gum at the wall. It's all thought through. But the fact of the matter is, your favorite color is purple. You're likely leaning to what has purple. And I actually I was really blessed to speak at the Delray Chamber of Commerce, where I'm a proud ambassador. And I spoke about how oftentimes we go through life thinking that we're on autopilot, because in most cases we are, but autopilot isn't necessarily bad because you still have your subconscious, right? So oftentimes we're making subconscious decisions, though conscious, but if you just kind of notice the way you're moving or the direction in which you're pulled, you're typically drawn to something that you relate to. Color is huge because color evokes and emits a mood. It creates resonance, so it takes you back to an experience. And then if you're like, my favorite colors are different hues of blues, I'll almost always be drawn to something in that way. It is just kind of the way it is. And a flavor is usually 1-to-1 on a color. Banana's yellow.
Yeah. I mean, you can get me with blue. Everything I own is blue.
Yeah.
A lot of it's my company is blue now because it's my favorite color, and my team,
right.
The Gators, are blue. But that's pretty, it's pretty easy sell for me if there's something.
Yeah.
The first customer that you had that came with you, how did you, who was it, and how did you get him? You just say, hey, I'm doing my own thing. We can help you. So
it's interesting because of the relationships that, again, kind of, I realize now, like, I'm as great as my network, and the network is amazing because of course, I kind of plowed through it all, but in the end, it goes both ways. I can tell you that quite a few clients came with me, but I never sought them out. what I did after 20 years of working with them, having known their children's names, their partners' names, and their pets' names, I gave the relationship the respect it deserved. I probably have a client base of, I don't know, 300 or so accounts. And I'd say a third of that was from my previous company. And I made a phone call to at least half of them, the ones that we were talking on a weekly basis. And I in no way sold them. I just told them where I was going and said, let's chat. Because in the end, I'm offering multiple products that my previous employer doesn't even touch. They don't even know how to do it. So I never viewed it as a competition, and I never would. They're a monster. They've been in business for over 40 years. Like, it's not, if anything, I want to actually give them the credit they deserve in mentoring me, you know? So I'd say that, you know, my sales position at the time was just letting them know where I was going, what I'd be offering, and that we're all good. Like, I'm leaving on great terms. I mean, I gave my employer 3 months notice. Like, it was all good. Everybody was taken care of. And the funny thing is I can walk my old office.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's really close.
Networking is huge. Relationships, your circle. I'm throwing a networking event in Dallas when I'm just
Cool.
visiting for people so I can meet people I never met and have other people meet. And the relationships are good. Relationship, you know, there's all kinds of sales talk about, you know, are you a relationship seller or this. I'm a little bit of all of it. I think it's important. One thing I do see is that people are a little bit too reliant on the relationships that they have and just assume that these people are going to stay with them because of this relationship and don't really push them to do better. That's a big mistake that I think that's out there. Like, I don't care if you know someone for 50 years, if it's your best friend in the world, they have to increase and you know, keep giving you the value. Otherwise, you'll look at what other people do. All things being equal, of course, that's who you're going to take. But if they're not evolving and enhancing what they're offering, you know, it shouldn't matter what the relationship you have. You gotta move on. I think a lot of people kind of just sort of rest their laurels on the fact that, I know we've been doing business with them forever and everyone else does business with them. It's a different environment, this world, I think.
I agree. I read something yesterday and it was unrelated to business, but in the end, it is all related because it's the human interaction. As we grow, people fall off. So if you aren't offering value added, you are but a memory at some point. And on the contrary, if you and I have been friends for a long time, I'm your go-to. If you're growing past the capacity that you think I can service, you're literally going to outgrow me because I haven't shown you the ways that I'm growing in my business or the other offerings, or maybe a different angle or approach. Or in, let's say for our case, I haven't told them, by the way, do you know that I can provide you with an interactive ticket that's a souvenir?
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of keeping them in the know as to what's going on. Podcasts like this, social media, but honestly, and I'm guilty of it because I'm not sure how many ways I can split myself, but there's nothing better than a phone call, 5 minutes. Even
I
if you're leaving a
love
voicemail, like pick up the phone. And it's so somewhat archaic, but I also can't keep up with the emails and the text messages and multiple phone lines and who I got back with. Like, if you just call, I'm going to pick up.
I like the phone call. I hate that texting is even a form of business, but I have to do it.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll lose out. Like, if I need to get someone's attention, but there's just certain things that I can't have on exchange on text. I need an email so I can document it and I can, you know, go back to it much easier than if I just try and find something on the phone. So, but you gotta, I talked about this yesterday a little bit. You got to adapt with the technology and the change, whether you like it or not.
Right.
If it's
it
there,
all has its place. Right. It all has its place, right? It's also the way that different people communicate. So we have to be chameleons in a sense.
Yeah.
You might be a visual person. Someone else might be a more techie person. Some people need to physically sit with me and we sketch something. You know, it just kind of depends. And I think we have to be able to be an octopus and a chameleon all at the same time, and just keep kind of running with it and evolving.
Another thing, because we print and there's a lot of things that we can print, there are many times when I send someone elsewhere. I say, you know what, they can do it better than I can. When you need this, come to me. So while there is a lot of competition, you're not really in competition. You're trying to really complement what the other companies in your industry are doing. Like, you do this well, they might send something to you and you send something to them. I'm never afraid to do that. We try and keep everything in house and in one place whenever you can do it. But a lot of times it's easier to just give someone a referral to someone else who does a print job.
Right. I feel like because it's always about the client experience, I can tell you till this day I've never turned someone away. I always find them a home. And it's important to me to honor exactly what you just mentioned. Everybody works at their capacity and their strength. Sometimes the scheduling aspect is the bigger bottleneck because we have production planned out, and now someone calls with an emergency, and quite frankly, in some cases it's not worth it. Or if there's a very high volume job on press and nowhere are you going to stop that job to insert something else, right? Or
I hate telling people no. You want it in one day, I'm like, we can do it, and then we have done it in some cases, but you'll have to pay, because we gotta, in order to put you somewhere on that, production calendar ahead of someone who's been waiting there, and you're gonna have to pay.
Yeah, I don't know that the rush fee thing is interesting to me because, like, if we can do it, we can do it. It's not so much in that. To me, I just want to make sure that we don't say yes to something that then gives us or represents us poorly because we stretched ourselves too thin, or it's potentially, with all due respect, a nightmare client that because of their outrageous request paired with maybe personalities, that it becomes just not a pleasant experience. And so now they've left feeling like, even if we've delivered, because we always do, feeling like somehow it could have been done better. I rather just kind of say, listen, I made a call for you. And I literally just did it 2 days ago for an engraving job. We have 2 different lasers, but it just wasn't a fit. It was so tiny. I did it yesterday with an embroidery job. I sent them to a local company in Boca that does more novelty, that can have just a single head, not 15 heads, right?
Yeah.
But at least I found them a home. I gave them a point of contact, a phone number, and a company name. I didn't just say, no, we can't do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like the rush fee. I agree with you. I think it's just sometimes you get charged something and you got to pass it along, or even just credit card fees. Like I have to, on my vendors, I'm paying credit card fees if I put on my card, and I don't even charge my customer that. I'm like, I'll eat the 3% because I think it's the experience, and it's like nickel and diming for that. My friend just went to a conference and he didn't get internet because he figured they could use their hotspot for whenever they need it. Well, the conference blocks the hotspot, and then when they asked them for the internet, they were like, it's $4,300 to connect to the internet. I'm like, are you nuts? So
for
obviously they didn't buy it. They didn't buy it. But think about what that impact is. It's internet. It's a flip of a switch.
Are we in the wrong business?
It's like talking about people who overvalue the flip of a switch. Not, hey, I got to print. I have hard costs to this, which, look, we can all say there's overhead and all the service and this. At the end of the day, there's no hard cost to it. Your costs are going to be there whether you do it or not. And it's just a flip of the switch. I sold SaaS for a long time. People overinflate the value of this stuff so often. But it's more about just the turnoff, not even just, let's even just say it was, a reasonable price, or you say, you gotta pay for your garbage can and a chair well, they have them at the I Think amphitheater when they're making, the problem is that I'm not going to not go to concerts because I don't know that some people might if they don't want to spend on the chair, but it's just sometimes businesses should use more common sense and just do what is, there's an eye test or a smell test different than what your policy might be.
Right. But then again, you're going back to the experience, right? Depends, I guess, what a particular business values most. Because at the end of the day, we all need to make a living. We all want to feed our families. I mean, that's not selfish, that's necessity. Yeah. But then there's extremes. So I'm unwilling to sacrifice the experience to maybe, get one over. or become opportunistic, so to speak. Concerts are a great example. Really, any shows with all those outside fees, suddenly your $100 ticket is close to $200 by the time you're done, and you're like, I didn't even get there yet.
Yeah.
You know, so then if you've got food, drink, gas, time, Uber, whatever. But you're right. In our case, we have a straight up bill of materials. There's actual costs, which there's nothing you can do about them. They are what they are.
Yeah. It's just it's the way of running a business. So another good thing about owning your own business is making all the rules. The difficult part is, and I'm not there yet because I'm, just small, but I had such high expectations of companies and the way that they should act, and that I'm going to offer that to anyone who comes and joins my company and believes in what I'm doing enough to want to, latch on to it. So, I don't think it's difficult, but it's definitely not, it's much easier to go a different route, like, not offer a lot of benefits and, you know, micromanage people with their time and what they're doing. And, at the end of the day, if you don't trust someone, why did you hire them? And I think that sort of comes along with, with what we're doing. Like, why'd you hire me if you don't trust what I'm doing? If I say that this is probably good, I think let's at least talk about it without just dismissing it. But look, if you want to do it your way, I've done it before. I did it once with actually a customer and I didn't put my name on it, even though it was like a dream job, because I didn't really, it wasn't what we do. And I ended up printing it mostly because I needed to. I wasn't going to
Right.
pass up the job, but there will be a day when I will pass that up or say, look, go, you can get this somewhere else.
Right. I think what's important though, and it's kind of inside out, in my previous company, we were, it's called ISO 9001:2015. It's a risk mitigation business management, basically. It's like a training, not like it is literally a manual as to how the business is run, from the simplicity of how the order intake happens to how this press is operated and maintained, all the way through quality checkpoints into shipping, benchmarking, and out the door. And I want to offer this feedback really to anyone, especially when you're small. It's actually easier to start this way. What ends up happening, I feel like, when we are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs is we've been in the business so long, you almost won't have to be able to read our minds. It's just innate. It's kind of how we flow in the day, and we know what we're doing. We do it off the top of our heads. There's no documentation as to how it's done. So training becomes an issue. Inadvertently, lack of trust is an issue, which is kind of silly because nobody can read your mind. Bless you, but we don't have documentation for it all. So it's interesting if you ever think about how your day looks and how you incorporate a client and what the steps are necessary to get to the finish line on a given product. If you were to bullet point each of those steps, you would inadvertently create a little bit of a training document that could then assist you in training the person that you hire, which by default would allow you to entrust them more because you'd have something to revert back to. Because I think that sometimes the lack of trust primarily comes from complete and total miscommunication. They're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm not understanding what they're saying. And so we're just butting heads. It's my business. We'll move on. And here I am kind of feeling like I wasted my time, you know?
Yeah. It's tough because I don't want to rely on what someone else is doing, but I'd love to be able to delegate. Like I
Well, so it's more control than lack of trust.
It's just more that I know right now, but what should be done, and it's hard. You have to find someone who you do trust. For me, it'll be that I trust. It's not that I don't trust them. It's I trust and have faith that they know what is going to be best for Ticket Time Machine. And when you're first starting out, nobody knows it better than you. Now that doesn't mean they
Precisely.
don't have ideas that could be good.
Yeah.
But it's a delegating, is tough. Even when I have interns, it's like you want to try and give them as much as you can. I want to try and have them go outside their comfort zone to try things that will help them in their, in their careers. But yeah, it's a big problem trying to find the people that you can trust. In the printing world, if you make a bad hire, it's a big deal. In the restaurant world, all right, you hired the wrong waiter, waitress, hostess. I mean, you're probably okay. I mean, people could understand it was a bad host if they kept coming back and seeing the same one. Then they'd be like, well, this person's not good, and the restaurant person doesn't care. But it's important. One mistake on a press costs you the whole job. You got to redo it again.
Right.
Because you
Right.
don't
Well,
get that into a margin. When you're pricing out a job, we're pricing it out that we're going to do it right the first time.
right. Of course. And that's why you can't have your margins too tight, because you're going to have to assume fallout, some degree of tolerance, right? You're not going to get 100% of it right 100% of the time.
Yeah.
As much as we'd like to think we are, we're not. I will say though, nothing can really supplement a proper support system. I had an assistant who was far bigger than an assistant. She was and is a friend, and was literally my other set of eyes for 14 years. And she literally read my mind. It was cool because we had the same birthday actually, and that's, I kind of think, what we would attribute it to. And where I was weak, she was very strong, and vice versa. But she's doing great things today, and I'm trying to figure out how I can clone her. In the meantime, we can just rely on relationships like these and help each other utilize, the other's strengths until we get to a point where we have training and processes in place, and we can expand.
Yeah. I mean, for me, there's so many people that I've met along the way in the last 2 years that I would love to hire on the spot.
I know.
Come on, you're looking for a job? Come on, let's go. Or
I know.
I'm just
I
already thinking in
know.
my mind, like, what's it going to take to get this person to come work for me when I have any money to be able to hire someone? Because there's a lot of good people out there who are being treated unfairly. And then there's a lot of people out there who are just stealing a paycheck and not really into what they're doing. I think that can be fixed. If I probably went in to really analyze why it is that way, there's something going on with the process of their job. Maybe it's who they're reporting to. Maybe it's who's reporting to them. Maybe it's the person who they have to work alongside with. So, I hope and believe that, when I do have people working, and I have great partners now. Like, I'm not, I'm a one-man show, but I'm not a one-man show. You can't
Right.
do this by just
No way.
one person. You have great partners, silent partners, some, vocal partners, and some just mentors and, whatever, advisors and friends and people that you trust. I mean, everyone needs all kinds of help to get anywhere. And that's what bothers me the most about, like, when you ask someone for help who's not willing to do it. It's just so disappointing, because that there's no way that they would be wherever they are without getting help similar to whatever you're asking them.
Right. I'm a huge believer, and it's not because I come from a big family, but it takes a village in every aspect. I mean, I wouldn't be standing up straight if it wasn't for my sister, my mom, my best friends, my partners, everybody. And it literally is the little nuggets that we get from each person, whether it's from the perspective of time, dinners, conversations, actual physical help. I could call on my best friend in the whole wide world and say SOS, and she would show up. She just did, like a week and a half ago. But it really does. And sometimes you don't know what you need until you need it. I can say that one thing I wasn't prepared for on this journey is it's very isolating in many ways, because you're kind of trapped in your mind. What I think is cool about what we do is we can take what's in our minds and reap the result of something. There's an output. I have an idea. We can actually create it. We can test it out. There can be a bit of market research. You can hand me off samples. I can do a little networking with them, get some feedback. Like, there's a function to it all. But until you've taken pen to paper, you're just trapped. You've got these really creative thoughts, and there's so many of them. You can only output so many while also trying to make a living. I guess it's, not that you asked, but I feel like it's the one thing that people don't really talk about sometimes is, I don't care if you've got 1,000 employees. It's isolating. You took a chance. You risked everything in most cases. 99% of us are self-made with whatever we have, big or small. It wasn't handed to us. And we're just trying to take a desire and turn it into something reputable, something respectable, something real, and something profitable.
Yeah, it gives you more pride. The look on my face when I saw someone at the Panthers game wearing my my season ticket thing, or the look when you go to an event and you see people buying merch with something that you design, whether it's a logo.
Yeah.
It's such a cool feeling to see, and even just the word of mouth. Like the other day when I asked someone, well, how'd you find out with us? And they said, well, I was on a chat with Ticketmaster and they mentioned your name. I'm like, there's a Ticketmaster agent in Denver who knows who I am. Like, that's weird.
That's amazing.
Pretty cool. So when you get to see your work, it's good. It's great.
I'll actually give a little shout out, or a big shout out, to Matt and Neil and BRCW. We did a few different releases of different seasonal designs, and June is Pride Month, and Matt and I and Neil were talking, and we had some thoughts of introducing tanks for girls, kids, whatever. And I just was like, can I just like do something? Will you just let me kind of order what I think and design a few ideas? And we did a couple versions, and what a sweetheart. It was great to see them for sale. And Matt took the time to just say, by the way, the feedback is amazing and everybody loved them. And my face almost cracked. I was like, thank you for trusting me. I'm so excited. Like, talk about Pride Month. I was so proud. I was so happy.
Well, we love what they're doing too, because the two of them have a passion for wrestling and entertaining. And look, at the end of the day, I think they'll be successful with it. Although, Matt is a very successful real estate. It doesn't have to. And the value that they give for attending their event, it's why I really enjoy aligning with them and wanting to do for them, because that's the type of people who I think I want to be around and that I want to be in business with. And you can tell the way people are. I give the Bananas, I mean, a lot of credit, Jesse, and the brand that they've built, and they're just getting started. And so, when you can build a brand like that from nothing, it's really something to watch. And generally speaking, all you got to do is look to the person who's in charge of it, and you can tell, yeah, they're gonna make it happen, because there's just something about them, and they understand the importance of the branding and the importance of customer service and the importance of entertaining, if you're in that world, or educating or inspiring, whatever it is that you do. It starts from the top, and sometimes it could be infectious. And when there's something in there that's not working, it needs to be fixed. And a lot of times you can tell that's what's bringing it down. But the pride that you should have, and for seeing that be successful, is that's where it makes those isolating times feel like it's not a big deal and it's all worth it.
It's funny because I in my general personality, or in my characteristics, I'm social. I'm very extroverted. You don't have to ask me twice to go do something with you. I never thought of it from the perspective of your network, which is completely equal to your net worth. And that's how I measure my success. Certainly it's monetary. Thank goodness, none of us are starving. Fine. Are we where we want to be? Certainly not. Far, far from it. But if I were to measure my success and the value that I place on my time and energy, it's completely correlated, and with gratitude to my network.
I mean,
and sometimes it takes it just showing up. Like, I just showed up and I met you. Like,
I celebrate all the little wins. I know,
yeah,
my wife will joke when we get a check or an order, like, where are the other zeros on there? But you're like, and I believe that the value, for earning will come up to the level of what I feel I've built with a network. But that's always been that way for me. Is it my friends? Like, I have such a good group of friends, and I have friends, but I have a circle those are my people. And my mom used to be like, say something about, we used to have this discussion. I said, look, Mom, if I make a call, my friend will come to your house and do what you need them to do.
right.
All I have to do is make a call. And so when you can get people like that, that's a powerful thing. And then I've always operated that way. So I treat my business the same exact way, whether they can help me or not. It's just good people who are passionate and are working on good things. It's so important to have a good network. Now, it's not the only way. You can be
Oh,
successful
sure.
with being an asshole and no one likes you. They fear you. They respect you because what you have. They envy you because you have a big network and following and money and all of that. There's a lot of different ways to be successful. There's only one way for me to be successful in my mind. And I'm going to go down that path, even if there might be a different path that might be better for me financially.
It's probably, though, the belief or lack thereof of any publicity is good, whether it's good or bad. You and I aren't of that idea. We want the publicity to be positive. We want the experience to be positive. We want people to walk away feeling good, or at least not feeling bad. So I hear you.
But there are times when you need to get someone's attention.
Yeah.
That could be a bad, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, that's the great thing. Like, let's flip a coin, let's take a chance on it and see what happens. And you believe. That's how I got the Savannah Bananas to work with me, because I used their own words. They said, we don't, we let the fans decide. And that's what I think it is. Let's put stuff out there and try and let people decide. And what did we lose? I'm willing to take that risk the same way you are. I was like, what did we lose if it doesn't succeed? It doesn't mean it wasn't a good idea. It could have been the timing. It could have been, who knows, the price point. Well, there's a whole lot of factors that go into whether it's not. But if we're not experimenting, right, the A/B testing, and just especially in our world when there's just so many different ways to do, say, why don't you try this and see if it works? I'll take the risk out of it for my customer, because I believe in them and I believe in what we're offering, and that's got to be the same way for you.
It is. And the one thing that sometimes I'm like, oh man, I gotta rein it in here, is I get so excited at the potential. Like, I'm having a conversation like this and I look so forward to it. And then you're talking about Havana Bananas and let the fans decide. And then when you have that relationship with them and you hear that slogan or that tagline, you're like, yes, I've been saying that all along. And you just get so excited because you're in alignment with them. You don't even know where you're going yet. You haven't even conducted 1 ounce of business yet, probably, let's say, in your mind, but you're so excited. That's what I think is really cool. And when I'm sitting across from somebody and they're just, again, describing this idea, you see all of their emotions. You're like, however personal it is, and maybe it's not personal. Maybe it's just like, listen, I found out that I was really good at this X thing, and I want to translate it into Y. Can you help me? Or my dad or my grandparents started a business and I took it to, whatever it is. The other thing I think is amazing is how diverse we can be, because, for example, I'm in every industry, every single industry, automotive, aircraft, military, to health insurance, attorneys, doctors, you name it.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anyone can use what you're offering.
Yeah. And I think it's extremely important to support. The degree of supporting local, I absolutely live by. But the fact of the matter is, you're spending the money anyways. You're spending the money anyhow you look at it. It's being spent. Why not spend it with someone who's going to care about it as much, if not more, than even you do? Like, I don't really understand why somebody would want to go and place 10 separate orders with 10 online companies with whom they don't know anything about.
Well, that's the power of being able to have the relationship where they just want to go to you. And that could mean even if it's not what you do. Like, we don't do these. we don't do this anymore because it's crazy how expensive it is.
Right.
But I say, well, no, you can go. I'm like, no, you just order for me. I'll do it through you. And they'll know that you'll probably mark it up a little bit.
Of course.
You have to mark it up.
It's your time alone.
Depends on what it is. But they don't want it. They'll come to you because it's a much better experience dealing with you. And that's one of the things that is so key in this is, like, I'm not afraid, and you're not afraid to just say, go somewhere else. Here's a referral, because when they need something that you do, they're going to come to you. Or you have,
of course,
faith in that.
Another thing that we offer, and it was something kind of we thought of in like in the larger pharmaceutical contracts, there's something called Kanban. It's basically like an inventory management where you have min and maxes. And so as a service, we offer fulfillment. What's cool about that is, again, it gives you a single point of contact and you have all of your SKUs. You may very well know that we don't manufacture 10 of those, but you just don't want to go and deal with all the admin time, vetting the vendor, dealing with all the things that could go wrong with them. And so we earn that business, a small markup for the time. And of course, we manufacture the other remaining, 2/3 of those items and can be very much, we have space to inventory them. We can send them to different locations, things like that. I think it's just so important, though, to your point about trust. Like, for me to trust you is priceless, and I'm willing to pay an upcharge just to work with you, for you to manage my stuff probably better than I will. So I know it's off my to-do list, it's taken care of, and unless there's some fire in the building, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. The problem is, when we talk about failures, and we've all had them, I probably take a failure in a job harder than the customer does.
Yeah.
When I get that email from them saying this, was wrong, and I'm like, oh my God, it's happened a few times. Some was out of my control. One of them was my fault. I didn't enter an order right, even though the first time I did, but then we did it again and I entered it wrong. And immediately I said, look, what can we do to make this right? We offer a discount. You don't charge them at all, depending on what it is. And, I'm happy to say that the customer has come back and reordered with you. And then not everyone will. There's other people there might be nothing you did wrong and they go elsewhere for whatever reason that is. But being able to own up to the problem instead of just telling you, well, this is what you did and that's what you did. You want them to be happy. I had someone send an email like, oh no, we're okay with this. I'm like, well, I don't really want you to be okay with it. I want you to really like it. So let's do it right. And that spoke a little bit about what you said earlier. What do you think of when you think of the times when you failed and the conversations you've had? What's the most important way to handle that?
The biggest thing I can tell you, and oftentimes I feel like I operate from maybe two personalities, because you've got your personal self, when you can just be completely vulnerable with your friends and your family, and then you've got your business self. But now that I'm out in business on my own, those two contrasting people have started to merge. And the most useful piece of advice I was given by my old boss was just to remain as stoic as possible. Even when it feels personal, it's not. Things happen. They literally happen. They happen all the time. Mistakes happen. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's just about how you try to recover. Sometimes recovering is reprinting the job. Sometimes the error is so big that you missed it. You missed the line. The event happened. There's nothing to reprint. It's a miss. It's how you recover. The other thing I could say is it's not all about money. So just by going, oh, I'm so sorry for the oversight and our error, we'll refund you. In many cases, it's actually doubly insulting, because it was never about the money to begin with. They trusted you, period. Yeah. They utilized you over all of your competitors. Yeah. You made promises, whether that was lead time, quality, specs, whatever the case may be. And
sometimes that's all you can offer. I mean, at this point,
it is.
The deadline, like everyone wants their stuff done yesterday in our business.
Right. But there are solutions. And in a grave circumstance, once the dust is settled, nothing goes farther than a gesture for no reason. So I'm not saying apology flowers, but what I'm saying is, a follow-up later, something thoughtful, depending on the scale of the error. I will say, and I really relate to it, and kind of thank you for making me feel less alone here, because the internal dialogue, I'm sure, as you can relate, when we make an error is not good.
No.
You feel horrible about yourself. You feel inadequate in the best of senses. Yeah. We just have to know, manufacturing by default is just that. You are creating something that doesn't otherwise exist. So the chances of things going wrong are pretty high.
Who does? I asked this in a networking call that I was on today. I give a shout out to Chris Cincelli with Connects. And he challenges you to ask questions to get answers from other people. It's a unique way of networking. It's called My Personal Network. But the question I asked of others is, what was the last time you had a really great customer service experience that someone went above and beyond?
Hmm. Oh, this is going to sound so silly. My doctor's office. I had a weird situation with like a double booking of an appointment. They went through every like possibility of fitting me in, up to and including it's not a teledoc thing, asking me if it would be more convenient for me to make it a teledoc, like a Zoom,
Yeah,
just to go over blood results. And I'm thinking like,
you don't
this
get
is
that
like
often.
really, and I also thank God, knock wood, on all things, I'm in perfect health. This isn't an emergent thing. And I'm thinking, are you real? Like, does this even, it's blood work. Like, it's
Yeah,
not. And also, it's a doctor's office. So you're like, they usually want your copay before you even see the guy. Like, do you know what I mean? It was counter experience, but to me, kind of looping back, they were offering solutions.
yeah, it's great. You don't get it often. Mine was I was out to dinner last weekend at Cooper's Hawk in Davie, and the waiter was just exceptional. I don't even know what it was. It was just that feeling that, man, this guy, and everyone felt it, and that was it. It was just customer service to me is everything. It's I'm not a salesperson. I'm not selling. I'm servicing customers. You know that hopefully turns into a sale, but I'm not selling. Give me some brands that you really admire.
Oh, I mean, I really admire Nike. I love the Just Do It tagline, which has nothing to do with
Best
sneakers.
tagline in the
It's
world.
nothing to do with
Just do it.
sneakers.
The
Three
best
words,
one in the world.
three words, and the most condensed life advice, period. Um, let me think. Um, there's other brands, local brands that I really love. Gravity and Oxygen Fitness in Boca on Palmetto Park Road, East. They go by the slogan that good energy always wins. And
You,
they are the epitome. I love the gym and I love everything about the gym. Also Tribe Boca, they operate from the perspective of a tribe. They literally operate like a family. On that note, some of my partners, Southern Tape and Label and Cocoa Beach, who are just an extended family. They're just everything. They're so great. Um, you, okay? But the coolest ticket idea ever. I showed my partner the Panthers ticket, and this 40-year-old woman is like a child.
yeah,
It was the coolest thing.
it's
Um,
I didn't invent it, but I'm gonna
well,
print it out.
you're doing a phenomenal job at maybe reimagining it.
Yeah, I think we're putting the souvenir ticket industry on its side and trying to advance because it's been stale and it's the brand. The thing that we're doing most against is that the people doing it and they're just they get the jobs and the licenses because they have that name already. But it doesn't mean they're doing it right. There's a lot of people who have an unfavorable view of a lot of these brands that people think are just killing it out there. And sometimes that relates to a stock price dive, and sometimes it doesn't matter financially that they could take those hits. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, just do it. To me, the greatest slogan ever invented, and I think that we need to. That's the biggest obstacle is we don't get out of our own way, and you say just do it, like just do it. And I'm as guilty as anyone with that. So to me, Nike, the greatest, and I do buy a lot of Nike stuff. I don't know if it's better than everything else. I have tried other sneakers. I buy them. I like it. I like what they stand for. The product is pretty good, um, so I'll continue with it. It doesn't mean I'll never use anyone else, but I do like I love it, and the slogan is really is fantastic. We're gonna let you out of the Wolff Den with the same question everyone gets. You can spend 24 hours with anybody in the world, as long as you are not related to them and they're alive. Who would you pick, and what would you guys do?
Man, I had an answer and then I know I can't use it. As long as they're alive.
They have to be alive, and you can't be related to them.
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown. That has been an answer before, so not the first one. That's a great. What would you guys do?
What would we do? We would talk
Talk for
about
24 hours.
everything.
There's no
About
activity. Like, what
everything.
activity would you like to do with Brene?
Oh God, everything. We'd go to the gym. We would go out for drinks. We would have dinner. We would probably see a show. That would be the only time we're not talking, is when we're seeing a show. I really admire her. I just finished, I think, my 3rd book by her. I've read 11. I'm on my 12th book in like 3 months.
Okay.
It's kind of the one thing I always go back to, and I lose it quickly. When I need to center myself again, I get back to it. So
very good. Great choice.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining. Check out.
Thank you so much.
ThinkSGINK.com. If you could think it, they can ink it. Sam is great at what she does, and so go to her for your needs. And I want to give a shout out to. We don't have our sponsors and partners. Win Again Academy. Check out their stuff. Mark Moyer. Some great networking events and informational and educational type webinars. They're more networking events. But Red Meat Lovers Club, what Evan is doing is incredible, raising money for great causes, all while entertaining with food and drink and great people. What Matt and Neil are doing with the Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, they have an event next month that they're partnering with NWA, which is, anyone who knows wrestling knows NWA.
It's July 19th.
Incredible stuff. July 19th. I will be back for my trips, and I plan on being there. I'm missing a couple of Red Meat Lovers Club's events, but check them out. And that's it. Have a great night, a great and safe weekend. Do something fun. We're off for a couple of weeks while I'm traveling for fun and work, but do something good, help people out, and do what makes you happy. Just do it. Whatever you're thinking about doing it, just do it. Reach out to Sam, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.